Welcome friends. Today we will discuss about systemic lupus erythematosus. Autoimmune connective tissue diseases. Autoimmune connective tissue diseases share many clinical features and are characterized by dysregulation of immune responses, autoantibody production that is often directed at components of the cell nucleus and tissue damage. Now, systemic lupus erythematosus. Systemic lupus erythematosus (SLE) or lupus is a rare disease with a prevalence that ranges from about 0.03% in Caucasians to 0.2% in Afro-Caribbeans. Some 90% of affected patients are female, and the peak age at onset is between 20 and 30 years. SLE is associated with considerable morbidity and a five-fold increase in mortality compared to age and gender-matched controls, mainly because of an increased risk of premature cardiovascular disease. Now the pathophysiology. The cause of SLE is incompletely understood, but genetic factors play an important role. There is a higher concordance in monozygotic twins, and the disease is strongly associated with polymorphic variants at the HLA locus. In a few instances, SLE is associated with inherited mutations in complement components C1q, C2, and C4 in the immunoglobulin receptor Fc gamma R3b or in the DNA exonuclease TREX1. Genome-wide association studies have identified common polymorphism near several other genes that predispose to SLE, most of which are involved in regulating immune cell function. From an immunological standpoint, the characteristic feature of SLE is autoantibody production. These autoantibodies have specificity for a wide range of targets, but many are directed against antigens present within the cell or within the nucleus. This has led to the hypothesis that SLE may occur because of defects in apoptosis or in the clearance of apoptotic cells, which causes inappropriate exposure of intracellular antigens on the cell surface, leading to polyclonal B and T cell activation and autoantibody production. This is supported by the fact that environmental factors that cause flares of lupus, such as ultraviolet light and infections, increase oxidative stress and cause cell damage. Whatever the underlying cause, autoantibody production and immune complex formation are thought to be important mechanisms of tissue damage in active SLE, leading to vasculitis and organ damage. Now the clinical features. Symptoms such as fever, weight loss, and mild lymphadenopathy may occur during flares of disease activity, whereas others such as fatigue and low-grade joint pains can be constant and not particularly associated with active inflammatory disease. Arthritis. Arthralgia is a common symptom occurring in 90% of patients. It is often associated with early morning stiffness. Tenosynovitis may also occur, but clinically apparent synovitis with joint swelling is rare. Joint deformities may arise, Charcot's arthropathy, as the result of tendon damage, but joint erosions are not a feature. Raynaud's phenomenon. Raynaud's phenomenon is common and may antedate other symptoms by months or years. SLE can present with Raynaud's phenomenon along with arthralgia or arthritis. Secondary Raynaud's phenomenon associated with SLE and other autoimmune connective tissue disease needs to be differentiated from primary Raynaud's phenomenon, which is common in the general population up to 5%. Features in favor of secondary Raynaud's phenomenon include age at onset of over 25 years, absence of a family history of Raynaud's phenomenon, and occurrence in a male. Examination of capillary manifold lobes using an ophthalmoscope and oil placed on the skin can show loss of the normal loop pattern, with capillary fallout and dilatation and branching of loops. These features support either a diagnosis of systemic sclerosis or severe primary Raynaud's phenomenon. If Raynaud's phenomenon is severe, digital ulceration can occur. Now the skin manifestation. The skin is commonly involved in SLE, and many SLE skin eruptions are precipitated by exposure to ultraviolet light. The main types of skin involvement are classic facial rash, up to 20% of patients. This is erythematous, raised and painful or itchy, and occurs over the cheeks with sparing of the nasolabial folds. Rosacea is a mimic of this rash, a discoid rash characterized by hyperkeratosis and follicular plugging with scarring alopecia if it occurs on the scalp. Diffuse, usually non-scarring alopecia which may also occur with active disease. There may be arterial eruptions, livido reticularis, which is also a feature of antiphospholipid syndrome and can become frankly vasculitic if severe. Now the kidney involvement. Renal involvement is one of the main determinants of prognosis, and regular monitoring of urinalysis and blood pressure is essential. The typical renal lesion is a proliferative glomerulonephritis. What is this? Proliferative glomerulonephritis, characterized by heavy hematuria, proteinuria, and casts on urine microscopy. In cardiovascular system, the most common manifestations is pericarditis. Myocarditis and Liebman-Sachs endocarditis can also occur. The endocarditis is due to accumulation on the heart valves of sterile fibrin containing vegetations, which is thought to be a manifestation of hypercoagulability associated with antiphospholipid antibodies. The risk of atherosclerosis is greatly increased, as is the risk of stroke and myocardial infarction. This is thought to be a multifactorial due to the adverse effects of inflammation on the endothelium, chronic glucocorticoid therapy, and the procoagulant effects of antiphospholipid antibodies. Now lung involvement is common and most frequently manifests as pleuritic pain, that is serositis or pleural effusion. Other features include pneumonitis, atelectasis, reduced lung volume, and pulmonary fibrosis that leads to breathlessness. The risk of thromboembolism is increased, especially in patients with antiphospholipid antibodies. Now, neurological manifestation includes fatigue, headache, and poor concentration are common and often occur in the absence of laboratory evidence of active disease. More specific features of cerebral lupus include visual hallucinations, chorea, organic psychosis, transverse myelitis, and lymphocytic meningitis. Here this diagram shows severe secondary Raynaud's phenomenon leading to digital ulceration. Here this diagram shows a malar rash of systemic lupus erythematosa sparing the nasolabial folds. The rash is notably similar to rosacea, which may itself be associated with inflammatory joint diseases such as psoriatic arthritis. Now the hematological manifestation. Neutropenia, lymphopenia, thrombocytopenia, and hemolytic anemia may occur due to the antibody-mediated destruction of peripheral blood cells. The degree of lymphopenia is a good guide to disease activity. Gastrointestinal manifestation. Mouth ulcers may occur and may or may not be painful. Peritoneal serositis can cause acute pain. Mesenteric vasculitis is a serious complication which can present with abdominal pain, bowel infarction, or perforation. Hepatitis is a recognized though rare feature. Now, pediatric disease. Renal disease and cutaneous manifestations are more frequent in juvenile onset SLE compared to disease in adults. Similarly, there is subsequently a higher incidence of renal disease, malar rash, Raynaud's phenomenon, cutaneous vasculitis, and neuropsychiatric manifestations than in adults. The diagram shows livido reticularis, systemic lupus erythematosus, and antiphospholipid syndrome. Criteria for the classification of systemic lupus erythematosus. The features are malar rash, which is characterized by fixed erythema, flat or raised, sparing the nasolabial folds. Discoid rash, which is erythematous raised patches with adherent keratotic scarring and follicular plugging. Photosensitivity rash due to unusual reaction to sunlight. Oral ulcers, oral or nasopharyngeal ulcerations, which may be painless. Arthritis, non-erosive arthritis, that is non-erosive, involving two or more peripheral joints. Serositis, pleuritis, history of pleuritic pain or rub or pleural effusion, or pericarditis, rub electrocardiogram evidence or effusion. Renal disorders, persistent proteinuria more than 0.5 gram per 24 hours or cellular cast, example is red cell, granular or tubular. Neurological disorder, seizures or psychosis in the absence of provoking drugs or metabolic derangement. Hematological disorder, hemolytic anemia or leukopenia less than 4000 per liter, or lymphopenia less than 1000 per cubic millimeter, or thrombocytopenia less than 1 lakh per cubic milliliter. In the absence of offending drugs, immunological anti-DNA antibodies in abnormal titer or presence of antibody to Smith antigen or positive antiphospholipid antibodies. Antinuclear antibody, that is ANA, abnormal titer of ANA by immunofluorescence. An adult has SLE if any 4 of 11 features are present serially or simultaneously. Now the investigations. The diagnosis is based on a combination of clinical features and laboratory abnormalities. To fulfill the classification criteria for SLE, at least 4 of the 11 factors must be present or have occurred in the past. Checking of ANS antibodies to ENS and complement routine hematology, biochemistry and urinalysis are mandatory. Patients with active SLE test positive for ANA. Some authorities believe that ANA negative SLE occurs in the presence of antibodies to RAW, but others regard SLE as necessarily ANA positive. The issue may be more to do with sensitivity of the ANA assay at any given time in a disease course. Anti-dsDNA antibodies are positive in many, but not all patients and are tested at the time of diagnosis by most laboratories using ELISA. ELISAs have low specificity, whereas testing for anti-dsDNA antibodies using Cryptidia lucile is highly specific. Patients with active disease tend to have low levels of C3 due to complement consumption, but in some people low C3 and C4 may be the result of inherited complement deficiency in C2, C1, C2 or C4 that predispose to SLE. Studies of other family members can help to differentiate inherited deficiency from complement consumption. A raised ESR, leukopenia and lymphopenia are typical of active SLE, along with anemia, hemolytic anemia, and thrombocytopenia. CRP is often normal in active SLE except in the presence of serositis. Thus, an elevated CRP suggests infection. Now the management. The therapeutic goals are to educate the patient about the nature of the illness, to control symptoms and to prevent organ damage and maintain normal function. Patients should be advised to avoid sun and ultraviolet light exposure and to employ sunblocks. Sun protection factor 25 to 50. What is the sun protection factor 25 to 50? Now in mild to moderate SLE, patients with mild disease restricted to skin and joints can sometimes be managed with analgesics and NSAIDs and hydroxychloroquine. Frequently, however, glucocorticoids are also necessary. Prednisolone 5 to 20 mg per day, often in combination with immunosuppressants such as methotrexate, azathioprine or mycophenolate mofetil. Increased doses of glucocorticoids may be required for flares in activity or complications such as pleurisy or pericarditis. The monoclonal antibody belimumab, which targets the beta cell growth factor BLyS, has recently been shown to be effective in patients with active SLE who have responded inadequately to standard therapy. Now, severe and life-threatening disease. High-dose glucocorticoids and immunosuppressants are required for the treatment of renal, CNS, and cardiac involvement. A commonly used regimen is pulsed methylprednisolone 10 mg per kg IV plus cyclophosphamide 15 mg per kg IV, repeated at 2 to 3 weekly intervals for 6 cycles. Cyclophosphamide may cause hemorrhagic cystitis, but the risk can be minimized by good hydration and co-prescription of Mesna. What is Mesna? It is 2-markaptoethine sulfonate, which binds its urotoxic metabolites. Because of the risk of azoospermia and premature menopause, sperm or oocyte collection and storage need to be considered prior to treatment with cyclophosphamide. Mycophenolate mofetil has been used successfully with high-dose glucocorticoids for renal involvement with results similar to those of pulsed cyclophosphamide but fewer adverse effects. Belimumab in combination with standard therapy significantly decreases disease activity in SLE patients and is safe and well tolerated. Its rules in patients with renal and neurological disease is still under investigation. Rituximab has been reported as being effective in selected cases, though randomized control trials have not shown significant overall efficacy. Now the maintenance therapy. Following control of acute disease, a typical maintenance regimen is oral prednisolone in a dose of 40 to 60 mg daily, gradually reducing to 10 to 15 mg per day or less by 3 months. Azathioprine 2 to 2.5 mg per kg per day, methotrexate 10 to 25 mg per week, or mycophenolate mofetil 2 to 3 g per day should also be prescribed. The long-term aim is to continue the lowest dose of glucocorticoid and immunosuppressants to maintain remission. Cardiovascular risk factors such as hypertension and hyperlipidemia should be controlled, and patients should be advised to stop smoking. Patients with SLE and the antiphospholipid antibody syndrome who have had previous thrombosis require lifelong warfarin therapy. SLE patients are at risk of osteoporosis and hypovitaminosis D and should be screened with biochemistry and DXA scanning accordingly. Thank you, my friends.